Oh, hello. Yes, I hope you've survived the winds yesterday. I just want to talk this morning about another one of those or two of those kind of right-wing media hit pieces on schools. I've spoken before here about the American school in London, one of the most expensive schools in the country, and apparently their head teacher has resigned. The Daily Mail have run a really long piece on this, and I'm going to read some extracts from it. I'll obviously link to it so you can make up your mind, just in case I'm lying. They don't know why their teachers resigned, but they do at the same time, allegedly. Apparently, parents have criticised her ultra woke left wing agenda, and which is why she's had to go. Which she apparently chose to introduce 18 months ago. And there's, I'll show you the particular offending bit, okay? It's here. It's a circle of privilege. Now, you can choose to get very, very cross about this if you want to. There were some talking heads on GB News, the usual people that know nothing about education, saying it was ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't know. Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyone that's been in a school knows all about schools, don't they? Yeah, I went to a hospital once, so I know all about medicine, me. It appears to be the ethos there. But yeah, anyway, the usual barroom group sitting talking. Anyway, leaving that aside. Yeah, but if you actually look at this chart, I personally, I've been involved in things like teaching PHSE for quite a few years, and this kind of stuff is basically in line with the national curriculum. When we talk about personal health and social care, that one, education, then we often sort of talk about kind of issues around race and stuff like that, and we would talk about issues around the way that society does tend to be racist. It's something that schools are legally required to do. You're never going to read that in the Daily Mail, obviously. You're never going to read that. Anyway, the second concern is allegations of anti-Semitism, which is very serious. The two written accounts passed the Mail, at least one of which is seen by members of the board, suggest the words Nazi, swastika and Hitler were used by members of Mrs. Appleby's staff during a heated conversation about the reaction of parents to the school's efforts to educate children about race relations. Yes. However, I would strongly suggest that the words Nazi, swastika and Hitler aren't intrinsically lined up with allegations of anti-Semitism. Otherwise, I don't see how we'd managed to teach anything past about 1930 to about 1945 on the national curriculum again. So I don't really know about that, and neither do we, because the Daily Mail doesn't actually know what was said, allegedly. Okay, yes, this one intrigued me. In more recent weeks, a 19-page complaint was submitted to the Department for Education (DfE) by a leading London barrister acting on behalf of 26 ASL parents. It claims the school's teaching of race relations, quotes, has already become so extreme as to amount to a serious, systemic, and ongoing breach of the independent school standards. End of quote. Yes, the parents behind this letter, most of whom are from minority racial and ethnic backgrounds, provide half a dozen examples of what they regard as illegal teaching activity in the ASL, some of which they claim breaches the 2010 Equality Act. Right, well, okay then, if it does, then action will be taken. However, I'm willing to bet that nothing will come of this whatsoever. The Daily Mail will not explain that away, or they will, sort of, by saying, oh, it's the blob, it's the woke blob. Yes, the way that magically, after 10 years of Conservative Party in power, they're not in charge of anything at all. And if it was submitted weeks ago, you would have thought that fairly swift action would be taken, like you'd have an Ofsted visit. And we can look at their most recent Ofsted report. Oh yeah, it's outstanding, isn't it? Of course it is, because it's a very, very expensive school. Anyway, leaving that aside, it then goes on to talk about the victimhood diagram, and of course brings up the dossier from the Free Speech Union. Remember the dossier? I've done 2 videos about the dossier now. Still waiting some form of action. Yeah. Still waiting for some form of any second now. I can just feel. Anyway, I'm also going to sort of link you to a piece in the Daily Telegraph, which is similar, about children quite young, being taught to compare and contrast things. Again, it's on the national curriculum, guys. And of course, it's really awful because it's about Meghan, and you're not allowed to say nice things about Meghan. Catherine, she's lovely, but Meghan, she just isn't. It's on that line. Yes, somebody has picked up on this and decided that it's indoctrination of children. The thing about this stuff is that I have the feeling that there will be some form of feeling in government that they need to take legal measures, and I think we're approaching a kind of clause 26 moment whereby they will decide certain things cannot be taught in schools. Not that they won't be taught in schools, because magically they'll still be on the national curriculum, because that's the way these things work. But they will make schools' life as difficult as they can do around certain things, and basically try, through the threat of legal action, to stop teachers doing their jobs. Pretty sure about that. And on a final one, which did amuse me, there was news, I think in the Daily Telegraph, I'll find the article, post it up, of worries that magically universities are not catering to the needs of working class white students. Gosh, who'd have thought it, eh? Anyway, so they're going to impose quotas on them. And I love the idea of this government wanting racial quotas for universities. Let's think about that one. Let that one sink in for a little bit. Yes. I don't know. We do actually have a mobility czar, don't we? Yeah. Maybe the kids should just not be staring at screens. That's probably it, isn't it? Too much screen time, undoubtedly. Anyway, have a lovely day. It's still the weekend. I have to work. Paperwork today. Boo-hoo.